The Mandalorian Season 3 Episode 4 Chapter 20 The Foundling just dropped, and once again, Carl Weathers delivered a memorable episode with some very fun and unexpected moments, and I think we all know what I'm referring to, or should I say, who I'm referring to. So no more jibber jabber, let's begin. The title of the episode The Foundling is not just in reference to Grogu, but also Ragnar, and in some ways Bo-Katan. Our episode begins with the tribe. Mandalorians of the Watch are training and practicing their skills, while the Foundlings wrestle and challenge each other. Honing in on their abilities from a young age ensures they grow up to be powerful warriors. And meanwhile, Grogu is more interested in the rock crabs. This is what the early concept art was in reference to. Din realizes that Grogu needs to be integrated more into Foundling culture, and having seen Grogu's abilities with the Force in the past, he thinks it's a good idea to put him in as Ragnar's next challenger. We also get confirmation later in the episode that Ragnar is indeed the son of Vizsla, which was a popular fan theory since chapter 17. When he received his helmet, we all noticed how similar it was to that of Paz. So Ragnar is about to face Grogu, and he chooses darts as the weapon of choice. He gets the first hit. This is all new territory for Grogu, so at first he's very nervous. He doesn't know how to handle the situation. But thanks to a pep talk from Bo-Katan, who by the way is pretty much his mum at this stage, and Djarin who encourages him, Grogu is able to set aside his nerves. It's almost like Grogu is seeking permission from his dad to use the Force. I think in Grogu's mind, he left the ways of the Jedi and Luke's training in the past, and so he's cautious of when to use those powers. And besides, this situation was very different. It wasn't a Mudhorn or a Rancor, this was a challenger. So when Din motivates him, Grogu force jumps back and forth over Ragnar's head, and finishes victorious with a triple hit. Now just when you thought this day couldn't get much worse for Ragnar, a pterodactyl-like bird swoops down and kidnaps him.
This is not your day.
And you know, a lot of Ragnar's dismay could have been avoided if he just kept quiet. As Mando says, one does not speak unless one knows. He underestimated Grogu. Now Din mentions that if Grogu is ever to rise up from Foundling to apprentice, he's got to learn how to fight, to defend himself. Just like the Jedi have levels like Youngling, Padawan, Knight, and so on, so do the Mandalorians. This parallel is key. And when Grogu's old enough to speak the creed, only then will he be granted a helmet. I love this furthering of the lore. Some members try to go after the creature, but it gets away, and they realise they have to regroup and work out some kind of plan, and with Bo's help they do. Meanwhile, the armor teaches Grogu about the Foundry, the heart of Mandalorian creed, a rare moment shared between these two characters. And in the same way that heating and clanking of metal triggered Din's flashbacks in Season 1, it did the same thing for Grogu in this episode. Distressed and afraid, PTSD induced, we were taken back to the night of Order 66, Jedi Masters trying to fight off the clones, the 501st who are executing Palpatine's famous order from Revenge of the Sith. These Jedi are protecting Grogu, and one of them says they need to get him to Kelleran, and in that moment I was thinking, surely they don't mean Kelleran Beq, but sure enough, as Grogu goes up the lift and the doors open, Ahmed Best as Kelleran Beq appears. Never in a million years did I expect this to be the person who saved Grogu, and he was so badass in this episode. Of course, Ahmed Best played Jar Jar Binks in the prequels, but also in a Lucasfilm game show called Jedi Temple Challenge, he played a Jedi Master called Kelleran Beq. Now Ahmed Best, who is the best, faced a lot of difficulties in terms of mental health after receiving a lot of backlash for his character in the prequels, and in a massive way his appearance in this episode was the perfect way for Lucasfilm to say we're so sorry for the way you were treated. Ahmed Best deserved so much better, and today we witnessed his valiant return to Star Wars. It was huge, and the whole Coruscant sequence was outstanding. Just like in last week's episode, as a prequels fan I'm very happy. Today we had callbacks to the Naboo Guard, LAATs, Bark Speeders, with a sidecar attachment, the Jedi Temple, the Coruscant Guard, who by the way were voiced by Temuera Morrison. So even if we don't get Boba Fett in Season 3, at the very least we heard his voice, and Kelleran tells Grogu that he's taking him to meet some of his friends. Now given this Jedi Master was known for supervising younglings, I wonder if he rescued more, and we're gonna see them in his hideout, maybe some other Masters and Knights as well, who successfully escaped, or given that he's got ties to Naboo, maybe, just maybe, they're gonna gonna throw in Jar Jar Binks. Lucasfilm could decide to go all in on this, but I guess a huge question now is what happened next. I didn't want that flashback to end because we need to see what went wrong. After all, Ahsoka does say he ends up alone and his mind goes dark. Maybe that's just PTSD, but I've got a very bad feeling about this. I don't think Kelleran survives. Now as Grogu's flashback ends, we return to the Foundry, where the armourer has forged Grogu's next piece of armour. It's too big for him now, but he'll grow into it. A Roundel with a Mudhorn signet. Remember that Grogu and Din are a clan of 2. And speaking of which, this episode was massive for creatures. And one of them, the Mythosaur, which Bo saw in chapter 18, comes into conversation later in the episode. We'll come to that in a minute. In the end, Ragnar is saved, and Bo and Din, who work together, come out the heroes, even gaining the respect of Vizsla, who until this point was a bit of a dick, but they rescued his son, and now it seems as though they're going to be on better terms. Now, if you thought Ahmed Best and the Coruscant sequence weren't enough callbacks to the prequel trilogy, the dinosaur turtle from the first episode of season 3 jumps out the water and eats the bird dragon, and I could almost hear Qui-Gon at the back of my mind saying, "There's always a bigger fish." So back to the Mythosaur. The episode ends at the Foundry. The armourer tells Bo she is in need of a repair as her pauldron was damaged. In the Foundry, Bo is asked if on the new pauldron she wants the signet of the Night Owls, and Bo responds she wants one of the Mythosaur. She asks the armourer if it's possible to wear both the Mythosaur and Night Owl signets at once. The exchange that ensues is very important in contrasting how the tribe perceives mythological stories versus someone who's witnessed that exact thing. The armourer says that the Mythosaur belongs to all Mandalorians, which I believe is foreshadowing of the unification that's going to take place at the end of season 3 on Mandalore. While looking up at the Mythosaur on the wall, Bo tells the armourer she's encountered a real one. The armourer seems to think Bo's not being literal, but rather symbolic, or maybe talking metaphorically, but she doesn't seem to believe her, even though her final response is "this is the way." In the Book of Boba Fett, the armourer mentioned that they only believe the Mythosaur exists in legends, and now that Bo's confessed having seen one, as we saw in the Minds of Mandalorian chapter 18, is she going to prove it? Is she going to take them there? She's probably going to try and tame it, and that is going to be proof enough. And you know what, guys? I thought this was the perfect way to end the episode. This episode was great. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. I also love the insertion of the comedy when Bo tells the armourer she has 3 new foundlings for her, and it ends up being the chicks of the dragon. Will the tribe tame and ride them when they grow up? This was a really solid episode, and what I really love with this show is that you get some very unexpected moments. Jon Favreau spoke about moments in season 3 that will break the internet. I reckon this is one of them. Welcome back, Ahmed Best. And we finally know who rescued Grogu, one of the biggest questions we've had since season 2. We thought it might be Quinlan Vos or Anakin, maybe Mace Windu, Joe Castanu, but no, it was Kelleran Beq. Just like Asajj Ventress, he was proficient at Jarkai, being proficient in wielding 2 lightsabers at once. He was even given the nickname Sabered Hand. As with every episode of the season so far, I will be making more videos in the week, breaking down individual moments and reveals. But what did you guys think? Did you enjoy chapter 20? Share your thoughts in the comments down below. Why so or why not? If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. May the Force be with you always.